According to a survey, managers say they need more support and training ahead of the Workplace Fairness Act, which is set to take effect next year or by 2027. The law, introduced in January this year, aims to protect workers from discrimination. It will be unlawful for employers to base decisions such as hiring and firing on characteristics like nationality, sex, or age. The NTUC LearningHub report reveals that 1 in 3 managers have heard of the legislation but don't know the full details of it. Nearly 1 in 5 have never heard of it. 200 managers were surveyed. About half say stronger leadership support is needed. They also want targeted training and more clarity in the roles and responsibilities. Others point to more frequent training and access to external expertise.
I think to ensure this whole fairness permeate in the workplace, various people plays a part. The leadership we mentioned, HR we mentioned, the recruitment, the hiring managers, as well as the reporting managers in the setup. So I think training should be permeating across all these levels to help each player within this ecosystem to do their role better.
While human resources is seen as primarily responsible for fair hiring and grievance handling, many also see C-suite leaders, hiring and line managers as key people in fostering a safe and harmonious workplace.
I think when an organization is fair or perceived to be fair, people will be more motivated to stay in the company. That's what I meant by, if you have proper processes and the processes are robust, people will have more trust in the organization, and that will help in motivation and overall productivity for the company.
And for more, we have Rahul Chawla, his partner and head of talent solutions for Southeast Asia, Aon. Rahul, welcome to Singapore tonight. Thanks for being here. So from the report, it appears that companies aren't really quite ready for the implementation of the Workplace Fairness Act. Is this the sentiment that you're also getting from the consultations with companies and HR managers?
I'm not surprised to see that statistics. This is coming from managers, and we have to appreciate that this is a significant evolution from a guideline-based regime to one that is statutory in nature. So that there's exposure from a legal standpoint. There's obviously reputation risks attached to being caught not being compliant to this new legislation when it will come in force. So that sense of nervousness is expected, and one can never be more prepared or ever prepared. So let's unpack this and say, listen, now if it's fair employment practices related to hiring, there is the use of technology in hiring practices today. Now, there are biases which can creep into technology and AI depending on what model it's learning on. There are unconscious bias in managers themselves at times. We're all humans and we are wired to think in a particular way. So how prepared are you to deal with those biases through technology, through your own unconscious biases, like I pointed out? Then how prepared are you from a process standpoint? So it takes a few parties to come together to be completely confident and responding to a survey like this and say, I'm confident, I'm prepared, I'm ready to take this head on. So 20% of the managers saying they do not feel prepared. While it's a significant number, there is still some time to go. It doesn't surprise us.
I mean, how can we help them then? What's driving this lack of familiarization or knowledge with this legislation?
So the companies would be definitely aware. So obviously, it starts with the companies which have an employee base and above. So compliance functions, HR functions, legal functions would be aware of it. That's where the change management process starts from. How does it trickle down from leadership and process functions to managers and leaders and C-suites like your report mentioned? So the preparedness comes from communication, change management processes, putting in processes in place to make sure that we are not exposed to being found on the wrong side of law. Your hiring practices, what kind of checks and balances you're putting in place, what kind of tools and technology you are using, which have been tested for validity and for legal defensibility. So, and then communication of what is available as a playbook for managers to be confident that they're hiring based on merit which essentially is the spirit of this legislation.
The law, as we know, is set to take effect next year
Yeah.
or by 2027. Why do you think it is so important for Singapore to implement it sooner rather than later? I mean, what's the significance of the Workplace Fairness Act?
Yeah, so it's important because it is a concerted action in line with other initiatives that are being undertaken. So we've been talking about, and companies are adopting for example, the Productivity Solutions Grant, the Job Redesign Grant, on how companies can actually redesign jobs and job architecture and drive workforce change, drive skills, drive productivity and wage growth. There's also an Alliance for Action on multi-generational workforce, getting people and even senior mature workers into the workforce. So if there is investment and impetus behind these initiatives, it also makes sense to have an act like this, which is on fair employment practices. When all those efforts that are being put in, the investment that has been put in, yield the returns which Singapore as a society and an economy wants out of these initiatives. So we know that we are an aging workforce. We know that we need to have a workforce we are a multicultural workforce. So all those factors also play a role in having this act being in force sooner than later.
Earlier, you were talking about having communications and processes in place. But from the survey, managers are saying that they want more leadership support, more targeted training, and more clarity in roles and responsibilities. What kind of targeted training or support do you think is imperative?
Yeah, so there is a process aspect to this.
Yeah.
There's also a culture and a values aspect to it. Organizations sometimes will not need that onerous a change management process or runway if culturally they are tuned to embrace this. Some organizations will have leadership qualities, capabilities built in, which will make this easier to embrace and implement. So the value system as it relates to biases in hiring, in providing fair opportunities, in having a performance management system, which is not just a process, but also lived in spirit by its leaders, will help in embracing this. So in our work, we work with a lot of companies which have assessment tools. The assessment tools take a little bit of this pressure away from managers to be fair, because then they test based on psychometrics, which are then defensible in various aspects. Then what kind of technology is being put in place is an important aspect. So the training that we're talking about is on understanding the law first. What does it really talk about?
Yeah.
The spirit of it, making sure that at a leadership level, the value system, the culture that we're trying to build helps live up to this law in spirit, and it doesn't become a burden. Once it starts becoming a burden, then it starts becoming more of change management and a sweaty job, as they call it.
Rahul, thank you so much for coming in tonight to speak with us about this. That was Rahul Chawla from Aon.